What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the In the Dome podcast. 2 weeks ago, we were sitting atop the Pacific, and we looked at the next 2 weeks ahead, and we said, "Well, remember we were having this conversation? I got 2 feet on one side of the fence, but I'm still on the fence. We'll see what happens in this next 2 weeks. They're really going to have to do something in the next 2 weeks."
Do something like maybe score more than 3 goals in a game for the first time in 25 years, maybe, possibly?
to get me to hop off that fence. And they win 1 game out of 7. The yo-yo team.
My instincts to negativity is generally always correct, and it's weird because it kind of goes like, as soon as I start getting positive, it's like the team goes in the opposite direction. As soon as I start getting negative, the team starts to win. So it seems to be correlated with how I'm feeling about the team.
Or is it just the other way around, Michael?
Possibly.
Don't be so egocentric.
No, I have to be. If it's not about me, is this like Jerry Seinfeld? Is this about me? No. Well, then I've lost interest.
I finally realized what I've been waiting for all this time.
Myself.
And now I've swept me off my feet.
It's crazy because we're actually so good at home. 10-3-1 at home, but can't win a game on the road.
Just atrocious at home.
3-7-4 on the road. Just terrible.
Did you send me this? It was a Pinder.
Pinder tweeted it last night after the game.
Their only road win. So the Flames don't have a regulation road win since October 13th. Dude, that's like first week of the season, is it not?
Well,
in Edmonton, yeah. First week
and
of
that's
the season.
Also the last time we scored more than 3 goals in a game, too. So
their only road win since then was a Montreal 3-2 overtime comeback. And they haven't scored 4 games since that same game in Edmonton on October 13th. And this is starting to become new record-setting territory, right?
Territory, which
so we've tied the franchise record for most consecutive.
I think we smashed it last night. We tied it with 24. So the game against was it St. Louis where they only scored 3 goals, which we kind of got hosed out of. Whatever. But that tied the franchise record in terms of consecutive games scoring 3 or less. But last night, I think, officially passed the record of 25. And I heard Francis say on Steinberg's show, I tried to verify this independently, but I didn't have the time to dig up all the numbers. Francis said that the longest streak in the last 25 years for scoring 3 or less goals has been 27 games. So we're 2 games away from getting into record-setting territory here.
Hence the plummeting of the standings. So over those past 2 weeks that we just talked about, the Flames go 1-4-2. No longer in a playoff spot, and now just 3 points out of a bottom 10 pick. We are so bad.
Oh, we are so... Yes, thank you, Jesus. I told you, the Lord is watching out for the take, man.
So there's not too much to break down. It's pretty self-explanatory. The team can't
score a fucking goal.
And so, like we've been saying, unless you have outstanding, flawless goaltending on a nightly basis, you're going to be losing on a nightly basis, scoring 1 goal a game, 2 goals a game, 3 goals a game.
I have a beef with something Huska said this week where he was like, I think it was after the Blues game? It might have been after the... What's the other game they play this week? Wow, I'm tripping out here. I guess they beat Columbus, in the John.
Columbus, St. Louis.
I can't remember which game it was after. I should have looked it up. But he was like, yeah, if we score 3 goals, we should win. What? What are you in 2002? 3 goals is nothing in this league.
2002? Go back 25 years.
You can't score 3 goals and win. So I'm a little alarmed that that's what the message is. Like, yeah, we're good as long as we score 3 goals. Just make sure that the goaltending is absolutely flawless and we'll be good, boys. Like, you can't win scoring 3 goals every game, man.
No.
Evidently. Evidently so.
So they need 2 more games consecutive to break the 25-year record? They're at
I believe
20.
so.
They're at 26 games now.
They're at 25 straight games, so 26, 27 would tie it. I think that's so. Francis said, I think he said he didn't say 27 exactly, but when they were at 24, he said they were 3 away. I tried to verify this information, but it was kind of a difficult stat to dig up. So I'm going solely based on Eric's research here.
I was listening to the last episode, and we were talking about. I mean, it's a perfect combination of, yes, Huska's systems and coaching style, which I don't necessarily disagree with. He's trying to push this identity of the hardest working team. We want to be hard to play against. I mean, which means you want to make the other team, fight, scrape, and claw for their chances, for their goals. And if you're on the lower end of skill level relative to the rest of the league, that's not a bad formula if you want to stay competitive on a nightly basis. However, you're not generating enough offense with this current system, and combined with the lack of skill on the roster. But it's a weird one because, like, we've been saying, before the season starts, you're sitting there and you're like, well, we won't be as bad as most people have us pegged, because most people had us pegged bottom 5, just cellar dwelling all season long. But we look at the roster and you're looking at, you got some guys that can put the puck in the back of the net. Well, we won't be that bad. But turns out we're getting bottom 5 offense.
Yeah, I think it's like bottom 3 at this point. I think Detroit and Nashville are the only teams who score at a lower rate than we do.
Almost on a nightly basis now, you're seeing the broadcast throw up some stat that we're bottom in the league, fewest goals for, whether it's with first period or whatever it is. It's like you're starting to see that it's a commonality. There is no offense.
Well, and like you said, it's kind of surprising because we were kind of, like you said, resting our laurels on the fact, hey, they won't be that bad because they do have some skill. Kuzmenko could be a 40-goal guy. Sharangovich is a 30-goal guy last year. Coleman even scored 30 last year. Gaudreau had a pretty good season last year. You're looking at the progression of Zary and Courtney. You're like, yeah, we could score some goals. Like, the defense sucks, but we could score. And it's kind of been the opposite, which is really surprising. I think the best kind of like stat I've seen this week is that Matthew Tkachuk has 13 points in his last 4 games. And the Flames' leading scorer has 17 points on the entire season.
That's insane.
So nobody's on pace for more than like 50 points. And I don't think that's ever happened in the history of the Calgary Flames. There's no way. Kadri and Huberdeau are both on pace for 49 points.
Jeez, how many points did Huberdeau have last season? 55? He broke 50 last season, right?
Did he?
Didn't he break 50 both seasons?
I don't think he broke 50 last year.
Oh my God.
Oh yeah, no, you're right. 52. He had 55 and then 52.
Yeah, so just a steady decline.
Just like it's not exactly. It's just he's not falling off a cliff. It's just there was that one drop and then a steady decline. But for perspective, Kirill Kaprizov leads the league right now in points, 42, and the Flames' highest score is on pace for 49 in the entire season. Oof.
So, but
very surprising. I'm surprised Kuzmenko has been so bad. I'm surprised Sharangovich has 8 fucking points, dude.
Well, he missed a shit ton of games. I wonder if you calculate that over.
If you prorate it, I did it this morning. I think he'd have like 30 points by the end of this, over 80.
So he'd be leading the team in scoring.
No, entire season he'd only have 30. If you prorate it, he's got 8. Sharangovich has 8 and 21. 8 points.
Oh, geez.
That's his like. He's
got
pace. One less point than Kevin Ball, for crying out loud.
He's right on pace with where the rest of the guys would be at. Yeah. So, I mean, look, we'll talk about this because that's what we do on the podcast, talk about the Calgary Flames. I mean, from a fan perspective, this is great. Well, I guess not all fans.
From the Tank fans' perspective.
But, like we're both, I'm 100% sold on let's do a scorched earth. Well, not scorched earth, but let's rebuild this thing. I'm hoping for a top 5 pick this season. And look, they're still doing it. Entertain us while losing. I mean, outside of the third period last night against Dallas, it was still a close game. You still had Dustin Wolf looking like he was going to keep the team in it. He seems to give you a chance to win all these games on a nightly basis. Man, they fell apart fast in the third period in Dallas. But let's talk about it. Because, I mean, from our perspective, don't change a thing. Just keep going in the direction you're going in the standings wise, and we'll be happy. But if you're Huska, if you're the Flames management, what do you need to do to change things around here?
I don't know if there's much you can do, dude. Is there?
Well, and I think I took a look at the comments on that that tweet that Pinder posted, and somebody asked him, "Well, what is it? Is it is it a systems thing, whatever?" And Pinder just straight up said, "Well, I just think it's a bottom
Skill
five
issue.
bottom
Skill
5
issue.
roster, bottom 10 roster."
Yeah, I agree.
And that is probably what it really boils down to. And Hosko has done a great job of really juicing that orange with this current roster. But again, it's just like, shouldn't we be scoring more goals? If you're actually looking on paper, this team should probably be scoring more goals than it is. So I don't know if
Kuzmenko should have more than 1 goal. Sharangovich should have more than 8 points.
Dude, if Kuzmenko had 12 goals right now,
yeah, we would have how many?
We would still be sitting in the top of the Pacific the way everything's gone so far. Maybe other things would go different ways, but it's crazy to think that just that small little factor of like Kuzmenko just sucking ass.
Well, it's like Huberdeau last year in December where he had no points. He went the entire month. He went until deck 31 with 0 points. It's kind of what we're seeing out of Kuzmenko, where it's just like it's shockingly stark. Like 1 goal. I mean, even Igor, for me, Sharangovich, to me, I'm like, dude, you got 8 points.
So I think if you're Huska, you have to adjust. Because I got nothing wrong with this. Huska's job is to try and win every game. Connie's talked about it. There's a benefit to that approach. If you're management, if you're a coach, Connie does not like the suck on purpose mentality that creeps into an organization. His words exactly are, how are you expected to make flip a switch in your brain? If you're a guy like Matt Coronado, Connor Zary, Dustin Wolf, and your team's just been used to losing for 3 to 5 years straight, how are you all of a sudden supposed to be like, okay, flip a switch in your brain? Whereas, I don't know. I don't know if I necessarily believe that. I mean, you look at Chicago, they were ass. They did their rebuild. They had Kane, Taves. Now you just have young players that are used to winning. That's how the brain switches. Is it not? Or you're bringing a new coach? I don't know. How do you feel about that comment? Because it's definitely a belief that Connie has stated that is having a major impact on how this management is managing this roster in this organization currently.
Well, I think in general, the whole like, we're trying to tank on purpose thing is kind of a ridiculous notion. Because like, what teams have actually really employed that strategy over the last 30 years when you're looking at a rebuilding team?
Well, the Sharks did it last year, but
it's really like a few teams. It's like Buffalo really tanked and tried to get McDavid that 1 year when they got Eichel. Like they tried. Like it was obvious. And I mean, fair enough, man, when McDavid's on the line, and they still fucking couldn't get him. And then
did Chicago do it for Bedard?
I don't know if they stripped their roster down and gave themselves
Chicago,
the best ability.
They lucked out, right? They lucked out and won
it's
the
still
lottery,
a bit of luck. And then the Oilers kind of like, the Oilers were really the pioneer, and maybe everybody has like,
God, they're so good at sucking in. They're just,
it's just because this is where this whole sentiment came from, was when the draft lottery was happening and the Oilers were like jerking themselves off about like being shitty, but like, we're going to be so good in like 5 years. We're going to be like, that's what it was like. The management was acting that way. Kevin Lowe, every time you'd see him on TV, he's like, you just wait. So I think that's where that sentiment kind of really got rooted. And most people look at that and go, ew, that's gross. Because it was gross. It was disgusting. They're a disgusting organization. They should be ashamed of themselves. Nobody wants to be like that. But it's kind of swung the other way now where it's like, if you're going to be honest with yourself and just rebuild your team through picking high in the draft, it doesn't necessarily mean you're like encouraging losing or fostering a losing culture, does it?
No, you're still.
And how much more? That's the thing is like, I don't mind these games being competitive, and I don't mind that as a philosophy or as something that they want or as a front-facing like marketing strategy where Conroy's like putting that forth for the fan base and things like that. But are you really winning that many more games than the teams who are collecting the elite talent? Like, what's the difference between finishing in the conference, 12th in the conference and having 80 points and picking 9th or 8th overall versus you finish with 60, 70 points, Like, did the Colorado Avalanche, who had the worst season of all time in history,
I think
that one year?
Yeah, the only difference is what you choose to tell yourself.
Exactly. So did they just like, oh yeah, we don't know how to win now? It's like, well, they ended up getting Makar and McKinnon and all these guys. And what it really comes down to is just, good management, whether you're winning or losing, whether you're tanking or you're not.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I understand it, especially coming from a GM who was a player. I understand the sentiment. I think it's a good thing to be preaching. I don't think it's like the be all end all way you need to run your organization though, based on like, hey, we need to win every single game and make sure these guys know losing is not okay. Well, you're talking about adjustments. Like I play some of these younger players would be one of my adjustments.
And we always talk about this instead of trying to win every single night now and making all your roster decisions, all your lineup decisions, all your management decisions based on that premise. Stick to the vision. The vision is you want to be excelling you want your window to start to look like it's shaping up in three seasons from now. And from that point on, hopefully you're within a window of 3 to 4 seasons of actually having a Stanley Cup contending team. And so we talk about this. It's just like, it makes more sense to me to make your roster lineup management decisions based on that 3 to 4 to 5 year window. So what type of player do you want? You can already start to see your roster shaping up. You're not like Huberdeau is not part of that equation. Gaudreau is not part of that equation. Kuzmenko is not part of that equation. So why are these guys getting the lion's share of all the opportunity? Like Huberdeau is still on PP1. Literally, the guy turns the puck over in the offensive zone on the power play on a regular shift to shift power play to power play occurrence.
Hey, he scored last night. Come on.
Why? Like what as opposed to, okay, here's the guys, and I mean it even goes further, right? Let's start to see some more of these AHL prospects, start to develop them a bit, work them in and out of the lineup a little bit more. We're just so hell-bent on this veteran roster right now, trying to somehow scrape a miracle together. For what purpose? To appease the coach? Because I think the consensus of fans are on team rebuild at this point. So I don't know. Is it just a gap between ownership and management that they think they need to win now to make a real big playoff to try and put together a miracle now? Because it seems to me that most fans are on board with this. Let's be good 3 to 5 years from now. Let's see the kids, play the kids.
Well, and that being your North Star, more I think the like we don't want to have a culture of losing kind of obfuscates like, well, like you don't have to have a culture of losing by looking 3 to 5 years into the future, right?
Exactly.
Like we're kind of something we've kind of been doing this week is looking at these teams who have kind of pulled off what the Flames claim they want to try and do, as opposed to a scorched earth rebuild, which is this kind of retool, do it maybe a little more on the fly while staying kind of competitive thing, which I don't know if that's going to work. But the teams that are kind of doing that a little bit, maybe more so than rebuilding, like the Sharks or the Blackhawks or teams like that are having success right now, or like you look at Washington. And I mean, that's a little bit different because they still got like a superstar there in OV, even though he's 100 years old.
Well, they've been winning games without him.
Yeah, it's true. But why have they been winning games without them is kind of the point I want to make. You look at Minnesota, they've kind of done that. They've been great this year without bottoming out. You look at Philly, not that they've been good, but they've been, I think, more competitive than people have expected the last couple of years, given where they are at in their life cycle as a team. I don't know. You just kind of look at some of those three teams and it's like, well, why are they doing well? And it's because of some of the young players they've acquired over the years.
Choose to ice them on a nightly basis.
That's still the reason, right? Like Philly, I mean, they do have elite talent. Like Konechny's a great player, but they've got like Michkov there. Washington, the example I used on Washington this week, and maybe this is a little unfair because it's not like, oh, Connor McMichael is so great, but it was an interesting comparison. It's an interesting comparison because, who's leading Washington in scoring? It's Dylan Strome. It's Connor McMichael. Connor McMichael was drafted one pick before Peltier in 2019. He's got 15 goals this year. He's almost a point per game player, 26 points in 27 games. He's played 182 games in the NHL.
Well, and see, it's not about the former, the counting stats he's putting up.
Exactly.
So it's about the latter, the amount of games he's played.
And now he's putting up the points.
Exactly. I think there's a direct correlation there. And this is why we push so hard towards this, is like, don't put all your eggs in the basket on this current roster that isn't even going to be your roster in 3 to 5 years. And I don't know, like this AHL team, the Calgary Wranglers is top in the league.
They're freaking rolling, dude.
And so maybe you don't want to mess with it too much, but I mean, if you look at 2 seasons ago, it was the same situation.
Yeah.
And we never really drew much from that roster outside of Zari and Pospisil last season, but look how well that worked last season. So I mean, even the tiny bit of results that we've seen calling up from the rank, like it's paid off. Like, and now we know Zari is a key guy, Pospisil is a key role guy in the coming years and seasons. I want to see more of these kids play. Like I don't want to see Huberdeau every night. I want to see Huberdeau and Gaudreau on first overtime pairing.
Exactly.
Like it's not why I tune into the games. It doesn't even work anyways.
It does. What do you mean? They're great. There was a total waste of time in the St. Louis game. I remember we were like, "Who do you think is over the board first?" Oh, fuck. Okay, here's a waste of a minute and a half shift in overtime.
Just defended the whole time.
But kind of the point I wanted to make with like a guy like McMichael, and I know I'm cherry picking a little bit, but I mean I'm not that much. Like that seed had already been planted, and now they're reaping the fruit, right? Like That's a team like, and not that Washington's like this great organization; they're having a good season. I'm not trying to like jerk them off too much and be like they're a model team, but that seed had been planted, and now it's reaping the reward. Where it's like the Flames strategy with a lot of these young guys have kind of been like. Ignore them, don't play them. And it's not like he was like lighting it.
If you're going to get a little tiny shot here and there, and unless you fucking come and score a hat trick, you're probably going to get sent back down pretty soon. And you'll get maybe 5 games here and 5 games there. But I mean, if you compare the two amount of games played with Peltier and McMichael. McMichael's played how many games?
182 games.
Drafted in the same year as Jacob Peltier.
One pick before Jacob Peltier, I believe.
So it could either way. They could have picked, like, we could have ended up with Michael Washington could have Peltier.
Yeah.
How many games has Peltier played?
40.
And there's going to be some people that argue the same thing, right? We saw Bennett. So there's going to be people argue, yeah, well, he hasn't been great, and I agree.
Well,
Peltier hasn't been great at the NHL level. But the point we're making is, look at where you're at on your timeline. What is your vision 3 years from now? So you need to start giving, like McMichael's, I think, a great example of, you need to start giving these young prospects a much bigger runway, because you need to find out if they're going to be good in 3 years. Like, we don't care what Gaudreau and Huberdeau are doing on a nightly basis. Give us Peltier. I want to see what he can turn into. Can he turn into the guy you picked him to be?
My beef with it is that, like, we should have already known by now. He's 23 years old, almost going to be turning 24, right? Like, if you're wanting to do this turnaround rebuild, like they're wanting to do, these things are important. And I know this precedes the current management group, but, you know, like, if you look at McMichael's career, like, he hasn't really been anything super special up until, and not that he's like leading the league in scoring or anything, but in his rookie season, he plays 68 games with the Capitals, has 18 points. The next season, he played 6 games and then didn't do much, so he was sent down to Hershey. But then the next season, he plays 80 games, 33 points. I mean, if Pelche was scoring at a 33-point clip, I feel like everyone would be like, he needs to be sent down, right?
Well, I was just going to say, take either one of those seasons, that rookie season or that season last year.
Yeah.
Scoring at that kind of clip, producing at that offense at that kind of clip, would not net you more than 20 games on this in this Calgary Flames organization. It's like you have to be, I don't know, man, for an organization that's so held, I don't know. They sure talk a big game about developing players, but it's always seems to be, you got to do it in the AHL. And it's just like, we've been talking a lot about it in this season, especially given the timeline we're on. Give these guys, and I don't know if there's, maybe not yet, but it's gonna become a thing. Are there statistics available for? There's got to be stats that, I mean, you always see these stat cards of where prospects are at in each one of their developmental years, and based on that, where they're projected to, you know, what type of NHL player they're projected to be. There's got to be some metrics that show if you're in, let's say, A class prospect or B plus prospect, if you're in a certain category or class of projection, how many NHL games you need in order to find your footing and start to develop into a potential star in the NHL. Because I'm just like, you take a look at a guy like Pelche, that guy needs like 70 NHL games before we're going to know what he is. And unless he gets 70, 75 games, 80 games, I don't even think he can get to what level his potential looks like. It's like some of these players, these young guys, they need more runway. I think McMichael's a great example of it.
Well, and then another team that, and I mean, like, Minnesota's had some higher draft picks, but like, who are their leading scorers other than Kaprizov? Matt Boldy and Marco Rossi. Just the point I'm trying to make is these teams who have done this haven't bottomed out, but are having good seasons and looking like they might have a few good years. And it's like Minnesota is a pretty, I think, a comparable team to the Flames. Obviously, they don't have the Kaprizov, right? And that's what we need. And that's the other thing, too, with a lot of these teams who haven't had to bottom out. It's because they all have superstars, too, right? How do you get those superstars? So generally, that's the other thing I have a bit of an issue with the premise of, like, well, you're losing on purpose, is like most teams who end up in the tank position get there because they deserve to be there. Not because they're trying to lose on purpose, but because their moves prior, all of their management decisions, they're there for a reason, and it eventually catches up with you. It's kind of like the Sharks did for years, right? Like, and that's why we've kind of been harping on this kind of like, okay, like, don't try to fool yourself here. This was the big problem with last year, was like, okay, if you sign Lindholm and Hanifin and Tanev and all these guys, you're setting yourselves up to become the Sharks, and it's only going to prolong the process and make it even more painful.
Yeah.
So That's another issue I think I have with like, oh, you're losing on purpose. Like, well, I mean, not really. Like, do Anaheim and San Jose and Chicago all kind of deserve to be where they're at? Probably, because for a lot of years they mortgaged the future for the present. But I just wanted to finish that thought on Pelche too. Is like I just don't understand the thought process with guys like that. Where did he not prove he was an NHL player in 22-23 when he was playing with Gaudreau and Huberdeau, right? And what kind of numbers did he put up that year? I'm just going to pull it up right now. He played that season. He had 24 games, 7 points, 3 goals, 7 points in 24 games. That's not half bad. That's
a better pace than McMichael in his rookie season.
That's what, a 23, 24, 25 point season. I mean, it's nothing great, but it's just if you had planted that seed and nurtured it and watered it.
Instead of signing guys like Rooney and Mantha and putting propensity on playing Huberdeau every single PP1 shift, and we gotta juice this orange. We gotta push these vets. We gotta play the old guys. We gotta have Kirkland.
So I don't mind that we don't want to lose thing as long as it doesn't come at the expense of like doing what we're saying, which kind of has been for a long time for this organization.
But like the nice thing is that you can't fake it over 82 games.
Yeah.
So we're destined to whether they're going to be forced into doing it anyways.
Yeah.
We're just sitting here kind of being like, let's just get ahead of the curve here. We can, if you really want to speed things up, if you really want to, have a bit of a reach like on the fly, this is the key. You got to lean harder into your prospect pool, into these young guys. This is the future. You got to start investing via games and ice time and key situations like that game last night, Dustin Wolf. One of the best comments after the game, I think it was Matchsticks and Gasoline, is just like, there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, exactly.
This is actually a really great learning experience for a guy like Dustin Wolf, right? He's going to take key things out of it. Like, I don't like how this is so Flames. This is so head coach of the Flames. Now it's Huska. Wolf was on an absolute fucking heater. But you had to keep the goalie starts balanced.
Gotta mix them in. You
gotta do it. Oh, Vladar had a shutout. You gotta give him the next start. This is the point what we're making. Yeah. Who gives a fuck about Dan Vladar? Why? Like, Dustin Wolf is your guy. 3 to 5 seasons from now, you want him getting 55, 65 starts a season, playing lights out for 85% of those games.
Needing to sign a massive $12 million a year Igor Shesterkin-like contract. That's what you're hoping for.
So your nightly decisions, your daily roster decisions, your lineup decisions should be based on 3 to 5 years out. What does Dustin Wolf need now to be the best version of himself in 3 to 5 years?
Well, and I think even the Pelche example, right? Like, what did he play in the St. Louis game? He was the best forward. He was the best player on the ice in the first period. Had like 4 shots, scored a goal. Awesome. Yep. Awesome first. I'm watching the rest of the game. I'm like, Pelche is barely playing. Played like 7 minutes.
1 shift in third period?
1 or 2 shifts in the third. Why?
2 shifts.
What?
2 shifts.
What are you talking about? And, there was a comment, I think you were tweeting about Pelche and that exact thing. And one of the comments was like, there's a reason, like I was talking about, like McMichael in Washington. Somebody commented and said, like, why do you think the retools are working in like Washington or like St. Louis is having some success with guys like Broberg and Holloway? It's because they're being driven by these younger players, right? And
they've already had the experience over the last 3 seasons.
Yeah. Like Holloway in St. Louis, it's like, oh, he's really good. He's like, what, 23? Not like St. Louis is like doing a whole lot better than we are. So I'm not using him as a great example, but like, has he not been one of their best players?
Yep. He has.
Okay. Well, he's got 17 points in 28 games and he's playing a lot. So like, what the fuck is going on again?
Like, right? You don't, and But and the brain racking part about it is we're year one of a rebuild.
Yeah, exactly. You're where you are in your life, and the thing that ultimately it would help you win more games. Like you asked, what should we do? And I said, I don't know if there's much you can do. Well, there's one thing you can do is give these younger players a line share more of the time and stop giving, like you said, Huberdeau and Gaudreau the overtime shift. Stop giving, like put Coronado and Zeri out there together. See what they got. Let's go.
Well, do you want? I mean, he's been doing a good job with Coronado, but that's maybe
Yeah, just leave him alone. Well,
by
my worry is that,
association.
like, hey, he hasn't been scoring, and it's going to be like, well, he's going to get like
Well, he better go
sent
back down to
down
the
soon or
A.
demoted because it's like, oh, he's going to finish the season with like 15 goals and 25, 30
Well,
points, and that's not going to be good
shouldn't
enough.
Backlund and Coleman and Kadri and Huberdeau
Yeah.
all be sent down to the AHL if that's actually the truth of the matter? Of like, do you want Pelche to be learning how to play in key situations now?
Well, he already
Not in
should have.
three,
Is
not
is
in
the
3
point
seasons from now.
when he's 20 fucking 8? When he's 30 years old, then he can do it, eh?
Well, that seems to be when you get the lion's share of the ice time, 28 plus. So phone is buzzing. I just can't believe I think you touched on how bad Kuzmenko's been.
Yeah, it's pretty shocking.
We did the afterburner on after the St. Louis game. I asked you, as far as Zari goes, he looks like he's probably your most dynamic offensive talent on the team. Are we hindering his development? Like, again, it's one of these things of like, if I'm a coach, if I'm managing this team, I look at a guy like Zari and I say, holy shit, we got something here. Do you think he could be an 80-point guy, 100-point guy 3 seasons from now? I think you want to start investing in that potential return. How do you do that? Oh, let's stick him with 2 fucking guys that can't score, that have no offensive ability. Or do you want to, or do you go the other? Like, for me, I'm just like, how do we continue to encourage and unlock this guy's offensive talent? He should be playing with the most dynamic offensive players this team has to offer. How come we haven't seen with Coronado yet?
Yeah, well, there's another thing maybe kind of shooting themselves in the foot with this lack of offense thing that maybe isn't indicative of the talent on this roster is some of the lineup decisions are a bit odd. Putting your best.
Well, he's spreading that butter way too thin on the toast.
Yeah.
He's got all of your offense completely spread out over all 4 lines as far as and wide as you can spread it.
Oh, and
I mean,
some of
you've
the
seen it in Edmonton the last 7 seasons. Sometimes when you just load up all your talent on one line, that's enough to win you games. I mean, obviously we don't have that high end talent, but the argument I'm making here is like, I know Kuzi's he hasn't been good at all, but stick him with fucking 2 young guys, Coronado and Zari. That's what I would do.
Well,
Try and get him
that's what
going.
happened with Gaudreau last year. Is Gaudreau was sucking ass, and they put him with Zari and Postosol, and he kind of got his game back. You could try that with Kuzmenko, but I mean, even the fact you've got, even if you just flip Zari and Backlund right now, like you're not getting anything out of Coleman, right? Are you? Like, why do you have your 2 best shooters in Sharangovich and Coronado playing with Backlund, who, for as a great of a play driver as he is, it's pretty much that's the line where, like, unless you're Coleman, offense goes to die, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, you're on pace.
Swapping Backlund in Zari seemed, and I kind of understand putting a young player like Coronado with Backlund. We've seen that work before, but I mean,
but like Coronado is just fine on his own, man.
Exactly, he's a different player than a Kachuk or a Mangiapane.
Does he really need that type of insulation? I guess the coach thinks so.
Well, he might, but he needs, like, I don't know, you'd probably, given that he's a sniper, you'd probably want him with somebody who can get him the puck, like Connor Zary. And when you see Zary making these plays every single shift where he's dangling 4 guys and then he's in there all by himself, and it's like, where the fuck are my line mates?
And no one else
Oh,
is
it's
there.
Coleman and Dewar, and they're like in the corners because that's where they think the puck's gonna go.
Or he is playing with Backlund and Coleman for a bit and setting them up here and there, and just never end up in the back of the net. I think, honestly, man, I want to see him and Coronado together. I think they're the 2 most dynamic offensive talents currently on this team. And I would like to see them with Kuzmenko because I've seen what he can do. I can see the offensive talent he has. I think they might be able to get him going.
Well, and the other thing is too, and I've kind of mentioned this before, is thinking 2 to 3 to 4 to 5 is, if that's the goal, if that's your North Star, don't you want to see if you can develop some chemistry between those guys?
Exactly.
Like, this would be like
do you want to have
they're not that they're at the level of Monahan and Gaudreau, but it's like, okay, like, why don't we see if we can foster that and in 5 years build that chemistry, right? Because that's an important factor of some of these with a young retooling, rebuilding team, whatever. You want to give them time to develop chemistry because that is something that you can't recreate. We've seen teams try to do this, right? The Flames tried to do it that year where they got Huberdeau and Gaudreau. Nashville tried to do it this year, trying to like rogue meld everybody into this, like, hey, we've got skill. We've got so much skill, it's just going to work. Never really works. That's one of the main prime benefits of building a team from the bottom up through the draft and through a 5, 6, 7 year process is everybody's developing chemistry and they're growing together.
Well, so how many
together a little bit?
How many successful teams, playoff teams, have you seen built and predicated on a like elite 1-2 punch up front?
Yeah, exactly.
So I mean, you potentially have one. No, we gotta keep them as far away from each other as possible. That's what's best for their development. Like, well, I don't get it, man.
Why don't we see a kid? Why don't we see a kid line?
Why is it so obvious? We can't see it. It's like, no, we're not going to give you what you guys want. We don't
deprive you on purpose.
Exactly.
That's what Huska's always writing in his fucking notebook. Things to piss the fans off. But I was watching the Columbus game. Both Columbus games that we've watched this season, I've been very impressed with that kid line they have there. Kent Johnson, Cole Sillinger, Adam Fantilli. And obviously the Flames don't have anybody of like the Fantilli Johnson pedigree. But that's a really fun line to watch, and they actually have a lot of synergy. Like I'd like to see that. I'd like to see a Zary Coronado Pelche line. What is stopping them? They might just
be able to score, have a 2 or 3 goal game, and now you have 4 goals all of a sudden. Get on a bit of a roll.
Well, and the thing that kind of bugs me about some of the lineup decisions is like Huska always adjusts when we're like doing well. Like you said with the Wolf thing, he's playing awesome, but we gotta get the Vladar in there. It's like they're playing good, and then he starts tinkering. We haven't scored more than 3 fucking goals in 2 months. Let's see some different looks on these lines, dude.
Why are we still rolling with the same? Because we only need 3 goals a game to win.
Only need 3 to win.
What the fuck is that?
Only need 3 to win. Like, Roy Cairns is sitting in the AHL, and I know they called Pelche up and Dewar, but like, let's get the guy who's leading the AHL in goal scoring up too. Why not? Go to these injuries. Let's go.
And then
they lost their offensive superstar in Justin Kirkland, who led them in 5-on-5 scoring for most of the year. We got to replace that.
This kind of came up on our afterburner conversation. At what point do you start to consider? Look, I think we're right where we were kind of projected to be. Now we're finally kind of back on track. This is ultimately a good thing that we're where we're at now in the standings.
Yeah,
3 points out of 10. I mean, bottom 10. You look at the upcoming games. You got the Predators on away ice, though. What we have one.
Dude, it doesn't matter if the team is good or bad. Like we never like it's usually we beat the good teams, lose to the bad teams. So
Predators Tuesday night. Then you got the Bolts and the Panthers, followed by the Bruins. Senators, you can never beat them. And then Chicago before the Christmas break. I mean, you're looking at those teams and you're like, maybe we'll win 1 or 2 of those games.
Well, dude, we were looking at the 4-game road trip when we were like, hey,
Thinking
maybe
you
we're
could win
starting to
3.
believe. And we're like, holy shit, like are they going to cruise through this road trip? Ottawa, yes. Pittsburgh, terrible defensive team, yes. Columbus, we can beat Columbus. Nope.
So if we're right on track and we continue in this trajectory, then we're looking at potentially maybe in a bottom 5 pick. But I bring that up because at what point do you start to ask yourself, do we want to maybe ship out a guy like Rasmus Andersson? I mean, he's been your best player all season long. He's been your MVP. So it's maybe you don't deal him this year. Or do you look at shopping Nazem Kadri around? Like, I think what's been our saving grace here, we've talked about it, is that the hockey rebuild gods have been looking over the Flames, and every time they're even just so close to getting competitive enough where you're like, oh shit, maybe they should add. They just go on a 6-game losing streak, or they put together just a string of bad hockey, and they're right back down in the standings. And so they're kind of been forced to continue on this path, which has been good. So
It's been very good.
If that continues to happen, then what are we kind of looking at as the next domino to move? It would be nice to move a guy like Kadri, wouldn't it? It seems like his trade value is slowly starting to diminish. Wouldn't you want to move him before it gets diminished even further?
I'd be enthralled if the Flames could move him. But the thing is, I think he would probably only go to Toronto, would be the caveat there.
I don't know, man.
Maybe
Honestly,
the longer this goes on and
exactly.
It's clear the Flames aren't.
I think it's clear to me, man. The writing's on the wall.
Yeah.
I mean, you have 0 forwards on pace for more than 50 points this season, man. After a while, this is not fun for players, especially vets like Kadri who have won before. They came here to win.
Like, it might be okay if
I could
Huberdeau
see.
And you're just like here.
Oh yeah, Huberdeau doesn't give a fuck.
Here for the run.
Yo, you're getting paid $10.5 million just to get your cardio on a weekly basis, and half the fans are like, "Whoa,
dude, I know. I saw you were. I don't know. You on Twitter? Yeah, I know you were on Twitter. It always happens, right? Like, I'll make a comment, and it's just for fun because like it's funny, and then he'll like score, and everyone's like, "See." It's like,
oh, great. Now he's on pace for 48 points.
Guys, he's on pace for fucking 50 points if he's lucky, and he's making McDavid money.
I would like to see.
Let me poke fun at him.
There's got to be some sort of like contract calculator out there where you should be able to put in his numbers, and instead of like, oh, this is what he's actually worth, it's like, based on the overpay, what's the opposite?
Oh yeah, well Dom does that. Dom from The Athletic will do that from time to time. Show like the contract value, like the worst contracts. I'm pretty sure Huberdeau was on his list this year.
He's almost at 10 mil. He's almost at 10 goals. So we're almost it's $1 million a goal now at this point.
Well, it is fun. It is funny because I made this joke on social media this week because like the Trouba trade happened and that was like a big thing, and he's like pissed off, and Rangers fans are happy, and there was like, I think there was like, I don't know if it was a report, but some reporter said like players in the league are kind of like taking note on how like the Rangers are treating their players kind of like in a Vegas style way. And I was like, hey, fucking come to Calgary, dude. Like, we'll pay you top dollar. You can suck. You can underperform. You can force the team into a rebuild. The fans will still be like, oh, everything will be great. You won't get any criticism ever. It's a great place to play. That's like one of the main selling features, I feel like.
What's the total contract? Is it $84 million?
$84 million?
$84 million? Forget about it. No, that's...
What's the big deal? It's just 84 mil. Why are you so obsessed with it? Murray
Get
Edwards.
over it. You're still going on about this?
You're still going on about that $84 million contract? Like, what? Imagine if somebody scammed you out of like $1,000. How fucking pissed off you'd be.
You would be fucking livid.
How about
84
84?
mil.
How
Get
about
off the guy's
84,000?
back.
How about
This
84,000?
podcast is so negative.
How about 84? How about 840 grand? How about 8.4 million? How about 84 million?
I
Okay, the
think
one
because the
time,
number is, I think it's one of those things. The number is so fucking big and
yeah,
absurd that it's just so far of our realm. It doesn't compute. That's why that's why people are like, forget about it. That's
whatever.
84 mil. No big
It's
deal.
like a Canada. It's like a Canada Post thing. It's like they're like
Get over it. Kachuk
operating
never wanted
costs
to be
of
here
negative
anyways.
800 million a year.
Are you guys still complaining
You're
about
still
like get over it?
$84 million black hole. What's wrong with you guys?
Yo, 5.5 years left, and then I'm someone I was arguing with was like,
That's funny.
oh yeah, well I mean on a team that you think we have cap issues right now? Who cares? How about in fucking 3 to 5 years?
Oh, the cap's going up. The cap's going up. It's gonna mean nothing. Okay, wait till I have to sign Wolf and Zeri and Perek and hopefully like 3 or more superstars.
How much do you?
Then it might matter a little bit.
How much do you owe your credit card company? No, I'll think about that later.
Yeah, I don't have to pay it now. It's in
it.
2 months. If I just pay the minimum payment every month with
not
the
my money.
24% interest, I'll be fine.
Not my money. Who cares? Yeah, well, it's your fucking team. So,
dude, imagine
every
Murray
single
Edwards
decision matters.
Imagine how like secretly, like not even secretly, Murray Edwards is probably just like absolutely wants to just grab Huberdeau and give him a shake. You stole $84 million from me.
Well, the way these billionaires, they're kind of shitty, aren't they?
That's true.
Aren't they shady? Like Huberdeau better watch his back when he's going down the back alley.
He's just gonna have like a Marian Hossa thing. And then he'll like disappear, and then he'll like turn up like 5 years later, like as a CNRL like laborer with no memory of who he is.
Oh, sign me up for that, bro.
I just looked it up. Dom's, I think this was last year, 2024. Dom Lucian from The Athletic. NHL's 10 worst contracts. Jonathan Huberdeau is number 1.
Hey, you ain't seen nothing yet. Didn't realize that was a threat.
Anyways, the point being, whether he scores a goal or has been playing okay the last 2 games, we're still going to make fun of him.
It's the worst contract. That was last year though. It doesn't matter for the next 7 years. We already, it matters as long as he's on the books.
As long as I have to watch him starting overtime and never making a $10.5 million play once, I'm gonna make fun of him.
As long as I have to keep seeing him get the puck on the power play on the half boards and just somehow flub one into the middle, reach the other team 5 times a game, then I have the right to complain about it.
If people can complain about Darnell Nurse in Edmonton, I can complain about this. So, and I don't even complain about it. I just make fun of it. There's a difference.
So are you telling me that there's a way to get out of this? If like the Rangers play absolute fucking hardball with Trouba. They basically, this is interesting, because when did this go back to? I was it just playoffs last season? I remember watching that. What was it called? Face Off.
Oh,
the Prime series,
Amazon thing, yeah.
They did a segment on Trouba, and I'm like, this guy doesn't even seem like he jives with anybody on his team. Like it's not like watching Chucky or even McDavid. It's just like he doesn't seem like he actually leads that team. I'm not saying he's not a leader; he is in his own right, but it's weird that he's the captain. Like something seemed off. And I guess it was playoffs last season when there was grumblings about the team seeing some in a different way than Trouba. Or like, this goes back a bit, right?
This goes back a ways. I don't really know the entire history of it, but Chris Drury, man, guy's a baller. He knows how to play. I mean, I actually am one of the guys who like I wouldn't mind Trouba on our team.
Dude, right now with where we're at, be fucking great.
How many times he's absolutely destroyed guys on our team?
You were like, why does he have to come to the Pacific though? Hey,
Yeah,
I'm
of
all
course.
for it.
Of course, he's got to be against us, playing us 4 times a year. Great.
That means he's playing the Oilers 4 times a year too, bro.
That's true. Maybe he can just like fly.
Maybe
me up on
somebody.
McDavid.
Yeah, exactly. Fucking dude, he's gonna be pissed.
Dude, he's going to kill people when
he's going to be on a freight train mission just to fuck. Hopefully,
The guy's crazy. The guy's insane.
I hope he takes his anger out on the Oilers. Have the Oilers played Anaheim yet this season?
I'm not sure. I know
that would be nice if there was 4 matchups upcoming.
Yeah. Just go hog wild up there when you're playing them, Jacob.
Hyman, just destroy him.
Yeah.
Draisaitl, you want to kill him in front of the net.
Exactly. Go to town. Use your stick, use your elbow, anything you want. Just inflict max pain on the Oilers.
Pain, maximum.
Yeah.
Darnell Nurse, please.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll
Well, no, we want Nurse to be healthy for the playoffs because that's actually a net positive when he's playing.
True. Okay. Yeah, good point.
Go after like cross-eyed McGee or Ekholm or something. Leave Nurse alone.
But coming back to this, Rasmus Andersson, what would you do? What do you do now? What do you do now that you're back back on trajectory? Because who do we got coming off the books this year? Kuzmenko.
The Kuzmeister. Think we can get anything from the draft at the deadline? Anything? Anybody? Bueller. Dude, we got so much cap space, it's insane. I think only Columbus has more. We've got Kuzi coming off the books.
You would have to retain, but I'm sure you could get something. Dude, what if you retain 100%? Can you retain 100% in this league?
Max you can retain is 50. You can have another team broker some, I think, get it up a little bit more. But I don't know. With Kuzi, I feel like he's still going to go on a bit of a heater. So I don't know.
Well, dude, if you're a contending team, like Kuzi on the right, was he play right or left? Right wing, right?
Either or. He's a right-hand shot, but
yeah, right wing on the third line with a team that lacks a little third line scoring depth.
Power play specialist.
He'll be of value.
I know the Anderson one is a bit of a touchy subject because everybody loves him and rightly so. I love Rasmus Andersson. Seeing him and backs with Guy against Columbus was core memory. It was amazing. I love Rasmus Andersson. Everybody does. I think he could be the next captain of this team if he wanted to stick around. I have no problem with that. I don't know. It's interesting. I think ultimately you have to, if he wants to stay and he's willing to stay for a number that makes sense for the team, then it's probably something you talk about. On the same side of that coin, imagine what you could get for the guy. Right? Like, think about what you got for Lindholm. And I know Kuzmenko sucks, but you still got Luke Misa, Matvei Greedon, Hunter Brustevich for Lindholm, who was having a terrible season and probably doesn't have nearly the amount of value that Andersson would have.
Does Rass have one more year after this?
He signed this year and next year. So if you really wanted to max out the value, like looking into, because dude, and he only makes 4.55 mil.
Oh my God, dude, you could
like,
get.
If you could slide Rasmus Andersson, if you had Rasmus Andersson as a contending team on your team next year for 4.5 mil for the entire season, man, that would be.
Is that worth 2 firsts?
That's worth a lot, man. So I don't. My preference
is
worth
an A prospect and a first, man. Let's
explore the possibility, because what does that net you? And if that's your right, like that's what we need is elite talent. You're watching this team right now. We need guys who can. That's the thing. We have Zane, right? We had a really good draft. We still don't have our guy, and unless we're finishing top 3 in the next 2 seasons, we're not getting like a Celebrini Bedard type player. So if you're not going to be bottoming out, you need other ways to acquire elite players, and trading high value players on your team could be one way to do that. So I personally lean to, you have to explore trading him. At the same time, if he wants to stay and be the cap. The thing is though, like, this is where I run into a bit of an issue, is that you already have so many commitments to some older guys, right? You already have Uyghur for such a long time. You still have Huberdeau for so long.
Oh God, for eternity, dude.
So
Gaudreau still too.
You can only start handcuffing yourselves to players who are not going to be an important part of this team in 5 years for so long. And I know we're, like you said, we're all like, just, who cares about the cap? Who cares? It's going up. We have tons of cap room now. Well, you don't want to shoot yourself in the foot prematurely, right? Because this is something that happened to the team with the whole Tkachuk fiasco too, which was like part of Brad's thing for not starting him long term was because he was like, okay, the cap's going to go up. It's for sure going to go up. It's going sky high in like 3 years. And I'll be able to pay him whatever I want, and we can keep the team competitive now. I don't have to trade for a leak. I can keep Lucic. I can keep all these guys around. I don't have to make any moves. I don't have to clear cap space because I'll deal with that later because the cap's going to go way up. Then there's a fucking global pandemic, and these things happen, and it can really screw with you
they?
if you're not careful.
Why didn't he see that coming, the idiot? Come on, Brad. You couldn't see a global pandemic coming, you jerk. Even I saw that coming.
Well, even still fucked up. But shit happens. You can't count it, right? It's like counting on your credit card. It's like, well, I'll have the money to do that later, so I'm not going to worry about it now, right? Like,
yes.
Unexpected things come up.
You don't want to rely on something outside of your control.
Exactly.
To manage your team. You want to,
So I think continuously pulling out we don't have to worry about the cap. Like, we're going to have to worry about it eventually. There is still a salary cap, and stuff goes up relative. Like, Connor Zary is not going to be, right? Like, some of these players are not going to be getting what they would be getting market value now. It's going to be inflationary, and that's going to be real. So you have to take that into account. So I think it's a discussion that needs to be had with Rasmus first and foremost. I hope that the discussion is already happening because you want to get ahead of this. Because if he says, you know what, I don't really have the patience for this. I want to maybe be on a contending team now that I'm 28, 29, 30. I wouldn't mind. It'd be in my best interest to look elsewhere. I hope that conversation is already happening. So
you get the best deal possible, man. Yeah, you think it must. And if you are Rasp, watch, he's going to get a taste of playing with.
Well, that's the thing, right?
When he's at championship levels here at the Four Nations Cup, and he's going to be like, "Fuck, man, playing for a Stanley Cup would actually be fucking amazing."
Yeah,
and he's deserves.
You see that happen all the time, right? Like, you think, well, he loves Calgary. Yeah, I'm sure he does, and we love him. But like, if it's kind of like, I remember when Tkachuk was talking about, like, Bennett always telling him, like, Florida, like, this is great, man, like, this is awesome. And then Matthew Tkachuk loved Calgary. This minute he got to Florida, he was probably like, fuck yeah, I made the right decision, right? So I'm not saying that happens to everybody, and I wouldn't love to see him stay, but I'm just saying, like, the grass sometimes is greener. So, especially when you're not getting any younger.
Yeah, I don't know, man. If I'm Anderson, it just makes sense to move on and chase a cup. But we'll see what happens. Man, you were at the Columbus game, the Johnny tribute. It was the day before, and Guy's on the ice with the team. It was just so nice to see Guy with a semi smile.
Yeah,
actually able to communicate to the camera, and man, because the last shot I saw of him was him walking out of the funeral at the church there, and his legs didn't even work, man. Like, he had to be carried out of there. It's so painful to see. It's just nice to see him with some normalcy in his life. Obviously, it's always going to be a gaping hole, for that family. But just nice to see them come to Calgary and get the love and support that they deserve. And yeah, it was nice to see him not in that state.
Yeah, and it was awesome to see him on the ice with the guys. It was awesome to see him. They announced the first star was Johnny Gaudreau, which, frick, man. And he came out with Rasmus. And
did you stay for the 3 stars?
Yeah.
Nice.
And then, oh, dude, it was awesome. And then after the game, he was in the room. I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah.
Just he was joking around with guys saying like, "Wow, you scored 3 goals. That's pretty
something
rare,
that
eh?"
you never do. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just he did an interview with
Anderson and Backlund.
Anderson and Backlund with
That
Leslie.
was awesome, man.
He did an interview or intermission, him and Jane with Ryan Leslie.
Yeah.
It was great to just see them, and like you said, like it's only been 3 months, which is still crazy, but it was nice to see them, and nice to see them, be able to interact with people, and it was just great to see them looking a bit.
That one little clip of when the Flames were just coming off the ice, heading back into the room, he's just fist bumping everybody, and
Yeah.
I think
That was awesome.
Was it possible to just give him a bear hug or something like that?
Yeah. No, it was great. It was great to see the Flames give him love, see the city give them the love they deserve. It's still, you still can't even believe it.
No.
But it was awesome. I kind of wished they had retired the jersey. I hope they still do it. I think they will still do it. It'd be cool if they did it maybe when his kids are older. That was cool too. Like, I was pretty overcome with emotion when I saw Guy, but when I saw his baby Noah in Johnny's jersey, I've never seen baby Noah in a Johnny Gaudreau Flames jersey. That was cool and touching. You hope they retire the jersey maybe when the kids are older and they can come to town and maybe kind of understand a little bit more. I hope that's in the plans, in the fold for the future.
The game itself, a little boring, a little slow. Brass had an absolute fucking bomb on the power play.
Yeah, that was awesome. Points up to the Gaudreaus. That was great. Backlund should have had a goal that counted. It was cool to still see him score anyways. The two guys who used to play with Johnny.
Yeah.
Monty was there, which, fuck, dude. That was tough. You couldn't really see. That's the thing. Like, it wasn't actually as emotional being there as I thought it was going to be, because, when it's on the ice, like, I can't. It was more after the fact, watching everything on TV, all the segments and stuff, and seeing Monty, like, he was a mess, and after the fact, it was more emotional for me.
We had Monty picked as an anytime goal scorer, but he did not get one. He almost scored in the first shift, though. Did you see that?
Yeah, he did. He had a little 2-on-1. Vladar made a good save.
Which I guess it's time. It's time for our Bet365 segment. This segment's brought to you by Bet365, proud partner of Flames Nation. Open an account with Bet365 today and bet on a huge range of markets. Use code NATION, all caps NATION. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. How did we do it? We got to start keeping track.
Nailed it. Nailed the Dallas one.
Nailed the Dallas one. Robinson has had a kind of a slow...
I told you, you look for the slump busters. That's what the Flames are. You look on the team who is, okay, there's a guy who usually scores who's in a slump, playing the Flames. There you go.
Slump busters and Flames killers.
They were like, oh, Robertson's having a tough season, scores.
Forsberg is your... He's your typical Flames killer. He'll always score against us, and I think he's having a bit of a slump currently. So you got the double whammy. Maybe he's going to score 2 goals. He might just break out and score a hat trick.
He might just score a hattie, eh? Well, if Jankowski plays, that's always a safe bet.
Jankowski and Forsberg, go all in for your anytime goal scorers against the Preds. The Bolts, anybody slumping in the Bolts?
Well, Kuch is on fire. Hagel's on fire. Maybe Gensel. I guess he's got 12 goals, so he's not really struggling.
Okay, well, maybe we just go to the Florida game. We'll be doing the afterburner for the Florida game. Chucky scoring his return back to Calgary.
Oh, the guy is absolutely on fire.
Because this is the other one, former players, right? Former players. Sam Bennett's probably going to get a goal, eh?
Yeah, I think he's probably due. Has he ever scored against us as a Panther? I don't think so. Yeah, I'd wager Bennett. Man, they have a good team, eh? Reinhardt, Kachuk, Barkov, Bennett.
God, I just hope they're good enough to beat the Oilers again, man.
I think they will be. I've picked them to win the cup again, back to back. So
I really hope they do, because that means another season of the Oilers not winning.
Hey, did we talk about Sam Bennett, Team Canada? Team Canada, Sam Bennett, baby. Good enough for the Stanley Cup champions. Good enough for Team Canada. Not good enough for us. He takes too many penalties.
Yeah, no. Can't
Would you
have that.
stop taking those penalties?
You can't have that. It's going to bite you in the playoffs.
It's going to come playoff time, those offensive zones.
You know, you think it's okay now, but, you know,
Stanley Cup champion.
how do you expect to go to the finals with a guy like that on your team?
How do you expect to win a game in round 1 with a guy like that on your team?
Major prop. That's going to be, you know what? Does that change your, I'm not cheering for Canada maybe a bit?
Yeah. I still hate McDavid. I still hate McDavid too much. So.
Still hate him too. Still hate his guts too much.
Yeah.
Okay,
I hate McDavid enough, and I love Tkachuk enough to.
Anytime goal scorers, I'm going Forsberg and Bennett.
I'll go Janko and Chucky.
Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary. Bet365. Okay, man. How was the Columbus game? How was the vibe at the Dome? I mean, it was awesome to hear the Johnny Hockey chants to close out the game. Like you said, that post game interview with Guy with Bax and Rass. Obviously, you don't get to see that, but overall vibe, especially nearing the end. Were you in on the chants?
Oh yeah, I was trying to get the chants going. I got to say, I started the Johnny Hockey chant.
Shut up! You started it?
I totally took credit for it. We were sitting there, and I was like, we need a Johnny Hockey.
You're just telling me this now?
So I'm totally gonna take credit for that because I totally started that.
Dude, you deserve a fucking medal.
I don't know. It was the Dome.
Can I get your autograph? I've never met anybody that started the chant before. I always wanted to be that guy.
And I'm not a big chant guy either.
Or at least know that guy. I'm going to start telling people, hey, I know the guy that started the Johnny Hockey chant.
Yeah, you better. Like, big deal over here.
Okay, so continue on with your story.
It was the Dome is. I think it was because most people were kind of like, it was kind of pensive. Like, there wasn't a ton of cheer because like they came out and it was like, it's kind of hard to cheer. Like, you want to obviously let them know.
Sad, I know,
know
right?
the love, but it's like there's Guy and Jane and Katie and Kristen and like
Meredith
and the kids.
We're not really celebrating.
Like, I know,
celebrating her. It's like
you want to cheer, and I know it's like we're celebrating Johnny and Matt's life, but it's still like, you know. So it was kind of pensive and not like a roarous, which has kind of been the vibe with a lot of these things, obviously, right? Like that's kind of what it was like at the vigil, and so it was kind of that. It was heavy. It was like, oh man,
yeah,
this is tough. This is tough. So that's kind of what it was like. But again, by the end of the game, the fact they won, the fact Rasmus made the little salute to the Gaudreaus kind of like lightened it up a little bit, made it a bit. And then when Guy came out at the end, it was like, that's when kind of the applause really got going. It was really, really awesome.
Yeah,
so
cool. That's cool, man. I hope, you'll probably forever remember that now.
Oh yeah. And again, like I said, I hope the number goes up in maybe in the new building, or it would have been cool to see them maybe put something up just because that's the building he played in, and you know that's where we'll always remember him. But I hope when the kids are a little older, that would be great. You know, bring the kids out when they're 5 or 6, or at least able to comprehend who their dad was, and put his number up. That'd be pretty cool.
That is the only Flames win of the entire 2-week stretch.
They did one for Johnny, at least, eh? Got one done for Guy.
They dropped the St. Louis game in overtime. We covered a lot of this game on Afterburner. Thomas, with a nifty goal, made Gaudreau look like an idiot, then made Sharon Govich look like a fool in overtime. Yeah. Pelche gets his only goal of the season on the NHL level. Great goal. Coronado scores an absolute
great
fucking a beauty.
On a nice little feed from Zeri, right, on the power play, right? Yeah. There's the connection. Let's see that at 5-on-5, please.
Just a snipe. Makes the game interesting, ties it back up. St. Louis goes up 3-2 in the third. Weegsy from Huberdeau. The spinning top pass.
Somehow, that was a good play. That was a great. He worked his butt off and got a good pass to Weir.
Good play by Huberdeau. I don't know. You replay that 9 times out of 10. It just laid flat for one split second. Then obviously there's an overtime controversy goal. I like that it's a goal, personally. The only problem I have with it is that, like you said on Afterburner, it's going to be called no goal sometime this week.
You'll see that
So
in 2 days, and it'll be no goal. And the other thing I don't like about it is if the Flames score that goal, would have been called no goal. So you always kind of are burned up. Well, the St. Louis game, I just want to make this point. Like the St. Louis game is a good microcosm of kind of what we've been talking about. It's like, okay, the good Huska has them working. They played a great game, right?
they kept it
I don't know if you
entertaining.
say, I don't know if you say they dominated the Blues, but they definitely outplayed them. I would say.
Yep.
Um,
If only they had more skill.
Worked hard, but they still they couldn't score that. They couldn't score the one more goal,
They
right?
couldn't get that fourth.
And it feels like that's a perfect microcosm game of all the things. Like the young guys contributed. You want to see them play more would be the only thing.
Exactly.
If Pelche has a few more shifts or is playing in a higher role, or if you maybe have some more preferable line combinations rolling a little bit with some more skilled players playing with other skilled players, maybe you can do that. But I think that was the perfect example of, yeah, they're working hard, but let's not lose sight of the fact that they need young, elite, skilled talent.
Just gonna see if they have any line
Anything
updates from today. I don't think it's Monday. They should be practicing. No updates. No updates on any line juggling. Maybe he'll wait till they come back home to do anything different. But I agree, man. It's time. We need to see more of the young guys playing. I mean, like you said, Pelche, he scores. Look at how much energy he's bringing.
That's Selly. And that's exactly what they need in a lot of these games, right?
So we need to see more of that, and I'd like to see, Zari playing with some more skilled, higher end skilled guys.
Exactly.
The Dallas game last night, yikes! It was good. It was a good game.
It was good until it fell apart.
Until the third period, and the wheels fell right off. And then Dustin Wolf makes a mistake on playing the puck behind the net, causes a turnover, can't get back in time. Then it's 4-2, I believe at that point. And it's 5-2. Was it 6-2 was the final?
Yeah, 6-2 final.
That's just one of those games where, hey,
it got away from you.
Yeah, it was going good. There's probably some good things to take away from that if you're the coach. You throw that third period out and then you try and learn from it. You got to regroup. You got to see what you can put together in Nashville. But it's it's one of those things. After that game, you're finally out of a playoff spot. It's the first time since the season started, is it not?
We're gonna do the reverse Thanksgiving thing. It's like we're gonna be the 20% of teams who don't make the playoffs.
Yeah,
after being in a playoff spot.
I mean, if you're looking at who's in your rearview mirror, I think everybody was picking the Flames to drop out of that spot because you had Edmonton behind you, Colorado behind you. Yeah, no one's surprised by this.
Yeah, and just like again on that Dallas game, just like not enough. Like second period, the Flames outplayed Dallas, but they couldn't score. Scored one goal, but probably should have been able to score more based on how Dallas kind of let their foot off the gas. They just couldn't do it.
Kuzmenko gets back in the lineup. Who was out? Dewar?
Well, Lomberg sat out because him and his wife were having a kid yesterday, I think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, congrats to Lomberg.
Little baby. I think they already have one, but they're having their second. He's just going to come out of the womb just D's, just
throwing punches out of the womb. Just like, let me out of here. All right, let's jump to the prospecting prospectus. Good news is one of the defenders from Team Canada selection is injured. I guess that's not really good news, but the good news out of it is that Zane Parekh is the shoe-in, the fill-in. Not the shoe-in, the fill-in.
It should be the shoe-in, but
he's the fill-in to make it to camp. I don't see how he doesn't make the team now that he's in camp. But we'll see.
I guess it'll still be pretty tough sledding if they had already decided like he wasn't good enough to be invited. He'll probably have to have a pretty good camp to impress them.
Or did they hear enough backlash online and then maybe they're just like, oh shit, maybe we don't know what we're doing.
Well, Zane is one of these guys, right? Like we've already seen a little bit of it where he's got that chip on his shoulder.
He's got that fire in him, yep.
He's got an FU mentality where it's like, I think he's probably going to have a pretty good camp now that he didn't get invited, now that he got snubbed. mean, he should have been there to begin with. It's ridiculous. But hopefully he has a great camp. Hopefully he makes the team, because it's very rare we get to watch Flames guys at the World Juniors, and it is always an absolute delight when we do. So it'd be nice to be able to watch him over the Christmas break.
Yeah, it would be nice. So how many Flames prospects are we projected to see in this camp? In the tournament?
What is it? Axel Herdegg is he the only one? Team Sweden?
Jeez, that's it.
Is that it?
That's all?
And Zane?
Uh-huh.
I think that's it, man.
Well, we'll see if Zane even, like you said, makes the team. Outside of that, some of these prospects are having great season. Misa's having a great season. What do you got for us on the prospecting prospectus there?
Well, Luke Misa this week is probably the most notable. He's absolutely tearing it up. And again, it's kind of funny because I've seen a lot of Canucks fans, and I mean rightly so, clowning us. Not rightly so, but clowning the Lindholm Kuzmenko deal now, being like, "Duh, remember when Flames fans were like, duh, we owned the trade," and it's like Kuzmenko's got one goal.
Dude, it was never about Kuzmenko. Kuzmenko was just the cherry on top.
Yeah, Kuzmenko was just like, holy shit, did we fleece you guys? And, now it's just a lesser degree of fleecing, because we still get the pick that we picked Luke Mika with. We got the Greedon pick. We got Brustevich. We got Eric J. It's plus.
Yes.
So 3 games this week for Luke Misa, Brampton. 2 goals, 7 assists, 9 points. Absolutely tearing it up right now.
Love it. Let's just hope he doesn't rot away in the AHL his entire career when he gets to the professional league.
I'll just wait till he's 28.
Yeah, let him.
Wait till he's 20.
We got Trey Stetcher. We got Trey Stetcher back there. So
yeah, we got Nick Ritchie. We just traded for Nick Ritchie.
Yeah, we're gonna get his brother too. So I mean,
And obviously Zane had a good week this week. He had 2 goals in the game yesterday against Windsor. It's up to 10 goals on the season, so he's heating up. Did you see this tweet? I did want to mention this. It was kind of funny. The Win column had a article on the Dustin Wolf trade tree, where acquiring Eddie Lack in 2017 led to them getting the pick that they used to select Dustin Wolf. And Eddie Lack, great follow on Twitter, Flames legend, replied with, "You're welcome."
Yeah, he's a beauty. Eh?
Yeah, that was.
Have you seen awesome. He's doing real estate now, I think, in Vancouver?
Yeah, in Arizona. I think he's in Arizona.
Oh, he's in Arizona? Oh,
yeah. Okay. And one more note is that Andrew Basher returned from injury. He was back in the lineup with Medicine Hat against Edmonton.
Oh, I didn't even know.
See, dude,
I didn't know he was injured.
We have to get Gavin McKenna. That should be the goal.
Yes.
That kid, he's 2026. That should be our goal. Be as bad as possible.
He's not this upcoming draft. He's the one after, right?
He's the one after.
So let's get the other Misa brother.
Yeah.
This year, and then Gavin McKenna.
And then if we can have
keep playing Huberdeau and Gaudreau. I don't care. Double shift them for all I get.
See, that's what you always forget. Those guys are the tank commanders, man. And then, okay, if you really want to get let's go balls out. We got to get Calgary boy landed. If we could get McKenna and DuPont, we would be the most unbelievable. We would be a dynasty, man. And then sign Cale Makar would be the other thing we do when he's up. McKinnon, DuPont, Makar, 2027, new building opening. Let's go, baby.
Dude, could you imagine being a dynasty?
That's all we want, dude. That's the other thing. When people give you shit for team tank, that's what we want. We just want a dynasty. We haven't seen one in our lifetime or ever with the Flames. Even when they were good, they weren't a dynasty. They won 1 Stanley Cup. Can you imagine being a dynasty?
Hey, I'll take 1 Stanley Cup.
Yeah, I'll take 1 Stanley Cup, actually. I'll take a first round appearance in the second round would be sweet too at this point.
How about back-to-back playoff appearances?
How about making the playoffs in back-to-back seasons? That would be can you imagine?
Hey,
that would pretty much be a dynasty.
Have we done that since 2004? Have we made the playoffs in back-to-back seasons?
Okay, technically they made it in the bubble year.
No.
So 2018, 2019, and then the next season was technically, but you only get by on a technicality. Because I think prior, The last time we made the playoffs in back-to-back seasons was way back, like 2008, 2009.
All right, man. Is it still an exciting time to be a Flames fan?
Yes. As long as we keep seeing some of these kids, and that's ultimately, I hope Craig isn't an idiot and he sticks to the plan. And, when he was talking in their mission, that's one of the first things he brought up is what he's busy doing right now is watching kids for this upcoming draft. Like, that's kind of his main focus. So, yes.
Hey guys, thanks for watching. Be sure to check out more of our content right here on the Flames Nation YouTube page. We had a bunch of great long-form interviews. You can check out some videos we've done as well outside of the studio. And of course, if you want more writing or merchandise stuff, flamesnation.ca or nationgear.ca. Appreciate you watching.